It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 106 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam, that is Mel. We are just two broads celebrating our 2-year anniversary.
2 years old, baby. I'm finally the age that I actually am in real life.
We have apparently Nikki and Daza decided that they were going to jump out and yell surprise.
Oh my god, I'm so scared.
Thank you for surprising us. We love it.
Holy crap.
That's great. Thank you.
I didn't even see that coming.
Daza said he guessed that your hat was going to be with candles and say happy birthday on it, but you still got a very festive hat. So
well, see, the thing is, I haven't worn this hat and I don't have any good party hats. Like
me either.
And I was like, you know what? It's festive. It's my birthday. I can do what I want to. I'm going to wear this hat.
There you
Plus,
go.
it matches this awesome mug from the local brewery that I'm.
There you go. I love it. Yes, and so I have the streamers from episode 100. I couldn't find the full streamer roll, so I was like, still have the pieces left over from last time, and I thought there's a bit longer, but it's still not working. And I was like, whatever, it counts. We're still celebrating.
We can party any way we want to. Okay, this is our party. All right,
it is.
So yeah, so yesterday I was saying Bob and I on Saturday were in to see the lads, as it were, and the gal that was the restaurant that's run by a local couple that's backed up to our brewery that we're members of runs a fundraiser for the volunteer firefighters by doing a chili cook-off.
Nice. And
they were coming up short on chilies until right at the last minute and had no judges. And so
no.
She's like, are you guys coming? Are you going to do it? And Bob had this weekend off for other reasons. And we decided just let's take the days anyway, because he needs it. And
sure.
So they were like, and of course he has to go, you want us to dress up like Vikings and come be judges? And she was like, F yes, I do. And so of course, because when you have friends that go hardcore into Renaissance Festival things and so it's an outdoor thing though. They do it because they had like an outdoor bar and outdoor music and bunch of local vendors selling all their stuff and what am I missing? Oh, fire pits. So
nice.
We never get to wear our cold weather garb because here in Michigan and a lot of the places we travel at that time of year, it does not get cold. So you're almost struggling to get like as few layers as possible without being one of those people. But see, judgy right here. It was the perfect choice.
You're still in judge mode.
So we went and we were wearing all our stuff. And of course, people love it and have great conversations. And it was killer and had some chili. And they're good people. And, it's all of our firemen. So
that's awesome.
Like,
I'm glad that you're able to
help
there
with them. And they're training their new search and rescue dog, Axe. So they had, he's a chocolate lab, excuse me. And they were, he's 14 weeks. So they were socializing him. So we actually were allowed to touch him and stuff because he was going to start training next week. So he's our search. I mean, it's kind of cool, that's our search and rescue dog for our area here. So
we got to
hang out with puppies. We got to be nerds.
Got to judge people.
And I was making jokes about it. I'm like, don't I look judgy enough? Is this enough? Do I need more? So it was all for Axe. That's right. Axe, the volunteer fire dog search and rescue, which I many times thanked him for his service because very important.
Yes, it is. So good for Axe. Of course, it was for him, and I hope he got all the pets
He got lots of pets. He was a happy kid. He was good too. He was super good with people. I'm really excited. It's very fun. It's for a good cause, and
yeah.
So yeah. So that's what I did all day yesterday, and it turned into like
Sounds
a
like
whole
fun.
started.
Yeah, so if you notice, we didn't have our she was doing in real life things, I was doing in real life things, so our link to our stream was not up yesterday, but I was like,
exactly right. I got up at like 7:00. I was like, I am gonna do this, and then I hated the title I had originally, so I ended up revising it because
yeah,
still being judgy.
Last night it of course. So last night when I got home, I was like, oh, you know what? I should still tweet it anyway and just tweet like to come follow us. And so and we were up, we watched most of Collision last night. The only thing is I was getting too sleepy and I was like, I want to really pay attention to this main event. So we went to bed right before the main event. But so we were already up watching Collision. So I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and tweet this out. And I was like, it'll be funny, especially because it seems on brand for us. So
it's totally on brand.
I was like, so I'll just tweet the link to that. And then because I tagged Fight Game Media, they tweeted. And then, of course, it's, it was not as late on the West Coast. So we got a few retweets off of it, which I thought was great. And so, and if you didn't see our tweet or there's a couple of tweets about it and we'll remind you again later, we're going to be really busy at Fight Game Media today because after our show, Stephen and Jeremy are going to be doing a special show at 5:30 today to talk about everything that happened at New Beginnings. I have not watched any of it. I have heard some of it. I am not thrilled with one big thing with it, but you can guess what that is. But Stephen and Jeremy will be here at 5:30 Eastern to cover that. So make sure that if you are a New Japan fan that you are here. Make sure that you're subscribed to the network because we have lots of fun pop-ins. Like they had, I think it's up on the wherever you listen to podcasts, but I know the Wrap did a recap of, or they did their reaction show to the Elimination Chamber, which was in Australia. So it was on at 5 a.m. East Coast time, and it was on at 2 a.m. West Coast time. So I know that they reviewed that too. So there's a lot of good content there. Wherever you listen to podcasts, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
And the easiest way to not miss any of that stuff would be to go to our YouTube channel that's right up there on the screen and just click subscribe.
Yes.
And if you really like this, you can click the bell.
Yes, you could.
Because we got to defeat the algorithm.
Yes. Colin said some of the booking on the first night was weird. Yeah, I've heard
some of it
I can deal with just because like the House of Torture stuff it's not for us. It's for the Japanese fans who apparently isn't. It's definitely not for me. But out of all of the outcomes, like I can deal with that versus what they did with the TV title. So I'm not really surprised that that's the route they went. I will say, I'm trying to keep in mind that I don't know.
Right. Yep.
I don't know what the Japanese office knows. Sure, Rocky, I would hope would tell him some stuff, but they also tried to book Marty Scurll on the Strong Show, so not really going to give them the benefit of the doubt there. But they also, and they have, there was stuff with Hanma years ago that he was, physical with his wife. They still booked him. Michael Elgin was there for a while. I know if it's some of it's a cultural. Yeah, I was gonna say some of it's a cultural thing. I know also some Japanese fans probably, I don't know that they know things about Riddle. So I'm trying to keep that in mind while also being extremely annoyed by the fact that he has a title and the fact that they seem to I saw like a lot of Western fans were very upset about it, and rightfully so. It makes me a lot less interested in whatever they're doing. I don't want to do anything that supports him, and so it's just very frustrating to see. But I'm also trying to keep in mind that their culture is different than ours and they see things differently. I don't know who knows what there. So I'm trying to keep that in mind while also being very mad about it and not wanting to support it.
Which, I mean, you have every right to feel the way that you're going to feel about it. And I mean, there's trouble in New Japan. There is clearly trouble there. They've lost their talent. They went through this whole shift with the president things. President Tanahashi was supposed to be like a big, like, hey, everybody, we're making Tanahashi president. But like the reality of the situation is right now, the yen ain't worth shit. Like,
Nope.
it sucks, but it's true.
And now
you can come here or to Europe or whatever and take those monies and turn them into a lot of yen. And it's just real. I mean, these guys don't even have to. Right now, they could do a year and go home bazillionaires. Like,
and then you've also got, like, I mean, Suzuki's leaving.
Right. Yes. I saw that the other day. I was like,
Yeah.
Good Lord. And it's like, well, I mean, he'll probably freelance, but
and that's kind of what he's been doing anyway the last few
Right.
years. Because he's obviously
but like he's not going to say
very
yes when
popular
Tony Khan calls him up.
Right. Yeah, and he's very popular outside of Japan. He gets independent bookings in the US and the UK all the time. Like, he's very in demand. He gets booked with AEW when he, like, there's just random Suzuki matches in AEW all the time. And so, like, so that I wasn't quite as surprised, just because that's kind of what he's been doing. And like you said, he's not going to say, you know, it's because of money, but clearly he's going to get paid more. I mean, even the UK, they are in a recession as well. But I mean, he can still make more money in the UK and the US than he can in Japan. And I don't see him completely leaving Japan. I'm sure he'll come back and stuff. So Colin says kind of the same thing, that he hasn't been there for a long time, so it's not as much of a big deal. Yeah, it's definitely.
They left him out of this year's G1, if we're being realistic. Like, he wasn't in the G1, and so that to me would have been. I mean, regardless of the fact that, I mean, at that point you were having people that didn't know a lot about wrestling booking the thing, but the idea here is that. Oh, that would be a giant signal to me that things were changing. Like, they're done with guys in their 50s who beat the shit out of people.
Insane, because that's what New Japan.
Oh no,
like,
he's
so
huge.
many people love, like, that stuff with, like, and even Nagata. Like, Kojima has a belt in MLW, and the fans love. Like, I don't watch MLW for various reasons. One of them is because Matt Riddle is there, but Kojima has a title in MLW, and people love Kojima just as much as they love Suzuki. So even if Japan is moving away from some of that stuff, they clearly are in demand in the US and in the UK. And so good for them for being at that age and still, first of all, putting on the quality of matches that they do, but then being able to be booked and that people want to see them and that they can get paid by these companies. So, you know, good for them.
Well, it'll be great for places like RevPro and OTT, whether it's UK or Europe or whatever. Or I think that I read in the Observer that WXW is folding.
I hope they are.
Sucks.
Wait, WXW.
I think it's
got flipped letters around. WWE. Really, I didn't know that it was.
I think it's the
they
German
were
one.
I've
WXW been reading the Observer pretty much end to end the last few weeks to see if maybe Rachel's story might pop in there, and hasn't so far. I tweeted when Booker T was expected to. He's coming back Tuesday, basically. So.
So it's all blown over. Everybody's forgotten about Rachel, but guess what? I have not had a chance to, because due to other commitments, I have not had a chance to get to the Rachel article, but I still will. And there's some other stuff I'm going to add in there, but they might try to forget about Rachel, but we're not going to.
No. And I think that there is some awareness, so I might poke that bear a little just for, I mean, what's the harm?
Well, nothing, because we need to make sure that the story doesn't go away just because it's not in the news anymore.
Well, and it's pertinent in that the guy that's in charge of this wrestling promotion is adjacent to the POS that is involved in the whole situation with.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to say their names; they're gross, but I think you all know who we mean.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but yeah, so Tuesday is when he'll be back. But I did kind of laugh, and these things are subjective, but I saw that he was trending the other day, and I clicked to see why, and it's because in the Observer newsletter he was voted worst commentator.
Worst commentator. I did, believe me, when I was going through that, there was a bit of Schadenfreude there. I was like, yeah. You are the worst.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and honestly, I mean, it's that those awards were, and again, because I'm a reader, and the last 2 years I've voted on them, and I do it I kind of do it with a friend. We sit and talk because I like the exercise of sort of making your case for this person versus this person. I mean, some of them we were all like, everyone was on the same page with the Will Ospreay thing. That's just silly. Like, we all knew Will Ospreay was going to be the wrestler of the year. He just did so much last year. But I mean, some of them, it was like, you had to think about the different promotions that, and so I like it as an exercise and then to see where I line up. So for me, it's totally about like, it's totally for fun for me.
Yeah. Well, and it should be, because these things are so arbitrary. They don't really mean anything, which is why I tell you all the time, like, I don't pay, like, when the PWI stuff comes out, like, I really don't care. It's just so arbitrary. And I use it more like I like to go find like indie wrestlers or to see like indie wrestlers that I know, like where they are at. Sometimes that's how I find out about other wrestlers. And generally it's very slanted towards one company with the PWI stuff. And so it's whatever. I don't lose any sleep over it. I don't really care. And then I do stuff like we do, like some of the some of the websites I write for, like we do like end of year stuff. So that's when I really like will think about it and just be like, okay, like this is my and then of course with like in Athena's case, I just talked about it all year long last year. And that's why I was like, I don't need awards to tell me that Athena is the best women's wrestler in the world. Like, I saw it with my own eyes. I have watched every single one of her matches in her title run and leading up to her title run. I was like, I saw it for myself. Like, I don't need, but it's good that, and I'm not saying that awards are pointless, because it is good to like get the recognition that these wrestlers, because some of them are doing things that deserve recognition. Like, and because I talk about often how like I feel like Speedball gets left out of the conversation a lot because they don't have a title or they wrestle for smaller companies. But last year he wrestled over 150 matches, like, which is and the thing I say about Speedball is every time I see Speedball wrestle, I have never seen them half-ass anything. Like, they give 110% every single time. Times 150 matches. Like, that's, and I know that people have different criteria of what makes somebody the best and things like that. But like, I think the awards are fine. Like, either, if you don't like it, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's okay.
And it's also the whole entire thing is that it's the readership of that specific thing.
Yeah, that's the thing too.
So it's
when
already,
it's the reader voted,
that's why I can't take it that seriously, because it's like, it's a niche inside a niche inside a niche. Like,
true.
If you look at, one of the things that's interesting to me is like, I've learned more history. So it's like, I look at past winners a lot. Like, that's interesting to me to see even Jun Akiyama on some of those like wrestling lists or things like that. So
right, that's very cool to see. I'm not saying that there's no point to having them in or anything like that. I just don't see the point. And like, sure, like, and there's fun when you're having like debates with people like in a healthy way, like that's productive. But when it's like ruining your whole day because Rhea Ripley made best women's wrestler of the year and she only wrestles like a handful of times a year, and then you're mad that somebody else is getting like that. If it's ruining your day, then you might be taken a little bit too serious. You might need to dial it back a little bit.
You might need to rethink your prioritize.
Yes. Yeah. Colin says that Speedball versus Ali is tonight at Prestige, and I can't wait. That's going to be a good one.
Speedball got some honorable mentions though.
I don't know. I think that's on IWTV, which I don't have anymore because I wasn't really using it. So I'm gonna might have to do like a free trial or something to watch that match. And then I want to see next weekend is is Ali versus Alex Shelley at House of Glory Wrestling. And I just saw that House of Glory is going to be added back to Triller TV, which used to be the former Fight Plus, is now Triller. I believe I'm hoping they're going to add it in time because I really, really want to see that match. And we will get into a little bit of No Surrender because I did see a few matches from it. Then we have this comment from USVA guy. So there's no trouble that is caused by the company itself. Literally 99% of what is caused by outside factors and entities. People like Rocky have not had the best interest for the company on their mind. Yeah, he's
gone now. He's with AEW now.
But he still has a relationship with them. And sure, Forbidden Door. Like, he's still going to be the liaison for Forbidden Door.
Yeah, he's essentially the MC for that.
Yeah, and I was like, so there's that. And, it does. It's I don't know how this is going to play out, but Rocky does a lot with companies, and he does, and I will give him credit for that. But I will also keep in mind that he tried to bring Marty Scurll in, and that does not sound like somebody who has people's best interest in mind. That seems like we're going to get our friend back on TV, even though he has admitted what he did, but just says because it happened in the UK, it's not wrong, and that's not.
Oh
how
no,
this works.
I think we know a lady in wrestling who also knows a lot about crime that would beg to differ.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, that's just that guy's just gross.
Yeah.
Yuck.
And since this is our birthday party, I thought maybe we'd get away from talking about the crap that's been happening the last few weeks, but unfortunately, that's not how this world works.
Shoes keep dropping everywhere. It's so
and Nikki
surprising.
said, my sister was like, you played yourself because you said maybe this is the one. I think the only way that's going to happen is next week when you and our very special honorary broad do the pre-show while I will be at Revolution. Unless maybe that's the one episode we can get away from that stuff.
Although it would be very hilarious to get the honorary broad's perspective on.
I mean, you could still ask them.
I absolutely will. I mean,
you could do like we've been doing, where we dedicate the first part of the show.
They might be asking me for all.
They could, and we get the shit sandwich part, the show out of the way at the beginning, and then try to do all the good stuff towards the end, so we leave on a high note.
Well, I'm like,
they will also leave on a high note because
exactly
right after us, you get Speaking of Strong Style with Steven and Jeremy, who can talk to you about all the things happening in New Japan. You know, I was gonna say I don't know about the hair versus hair match, but I saw like I haven't seen the actual results, but I have seen tweets around the results, so I know who won the match, but I didn't actually see and so I was like, I haven't seen pictures or anything like that yet of person with their haircut or but I did see, I knew, I mean, I had a feeling, you know, I knew where it was going to go. I knew that, you know, Suji was going to win, but it's like, and somebody was, I think it was Lyric was saying, she was like, I haven't watched any hair versus hair matches in New Japan. Like, is it going to be like WrestleMania 32 or is it going to be like very anticlimactic? And somebody was like, well, if Suji wins, he's probably going to cut his Yuya's ponytail off and hold it up and carry it around like a badge of honor. That's like, that would seem very on brand.
That would be, yeah. That makes sense.
I saw some quotes, so I didn't watch the video, but apparently Suji said that if he lost his hair, that New Japan would die.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and
you can't have, this is the worst possible time for
Yuya
that to
said
be
he
happening.
was being dramatic.
Well. Either way, I don't think we should be taking chances.
No, I love those guys though.
That's
awesome. You can't take chances. You can't kill New Japan by cutting Suji's hair. Even though I think it's secretly Tana wants to be the only one with good hair, so he's making them cut their hair.
You can't live forever. So.
No, you can't. Well, and listen, I was saying the other day, so I saw that Shota cut his hair, and I was like, why didn't they just put him in the hair versus hair match? And
there you go.
Shota could have, and then we could have saved Yuya's hair. And then Shota would have he was going to lose his hair anyway because he cut it. So
interesting.
Yes. All right. I guess let's get into some of the shit sandwich stuff so that we can move on to the good stuff. Lord, I don't even know where to start with this. I guess we'll just go in the order that I've got it written down here because I was obviously, as you can tell from our show notes, I was very irritated when I wrote these show notes. So yeah, John Cena is well, in my notes I wrote he's an idiot because
she has to dial it back so that we don't get demonetized.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so he was asked on the Howard Stern show of all places. He was
which
asked,
is one of the greatest sources for
John Cena, and somebody made a comment, John Cena is not doing a great job when he's on Howard Stern because that's where he made some because Canyon went on there and was talking about how he was fired for being gay, and John Cena they had John Cena on the line and he was like, no, he was fired because he's not good.
Wow.
which we know is not true. And we know why he was fired. But yeah, so he's just not having a great track record. Maybe he should just not go on Howard Stern, or maybe he should just be quiet. So yeah, he was asked about the how it was phrased by Howard Stern is that that Vince McMahon was in hot water. That's how you want to phrase it. All right. So John Cena says, I don't think it's complicated to talk about. I think it's complicated to listen to. What the fuck does that mean? And that's kind of why I don't necessarily put a time and equity in it. So he doesn't even take the time to think about it because he doesn't want to think that Vince could be a horrible person and still be good to him, because both things can be true, because in a lot of cases in the world, both things can be true. He said there's still a long way to go. I can say this, I'm a big advocate for love and friendship and honesty and communication, but in the same breath, I'm also a big advocate of accountability, which I just want to remind you, Vince McMahon has taken none. Zero. There's no accountability there. Unless you want to count.
People have stated that he is denying every single accusation. That is their statement out to the press right now. They are denying everything, even the stuff we know to be true.
Yes, exactly.
They're still denying that.
He said, I think you explained it well. If someone's behavior lies so far outside of your value system that that the shift balances of, man, I can't operate in a world where this works, that's the end result of being accountable. What does that even mean? I don't what? And my guy, if what Vince does operates so far outside of your value system, then why are you still associating with him? Why are you still going to his birthday party? Why are you still defending him? Why? So you've already made up your mind. And he says, he says, right now, what I'm going to do is love the person I love, be their friend. By that, it means, hey, I love you. You've got a hill to climb. There's the saying of, you don't know who your friends are until the shit hits the fan or your back is against the wall. That doesn't make any of what's going on any easier to swallow. But just telling somebody like, hey, I love you, man, this is going to be a hill to climb. We're going to see what happens. And that's that. It sounds so cliche, but it has to be one day at a time. But at the same token, I've openly said, I love that guy. I've got a great relationship with that guy. So that's that. Then there's something else that he goes on to say a couple other things, but then, he basically was just like, I'm going to be there to say, how can I help? And, but I'm like, this man, I'm not surprised that this is the things that John Cena says, because John Cena is clearly, I don't know what Vince can do to make John Cena be like, to denounce him in public. Like, I don't know that there's anything that Vince McMahon will do that would make John Cena be like, you know what? Sexual assault is wrong. Rape is not right. Like, that's, I just, at this point, like, I don't expect John Cena to ever say, unless, I don't even know if Vince is dead and in the ground, that John Cena would say anything negative about him.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, maybe there's some like personal shame involved in that. That's a wild speculation thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely.
But to me, bigger than that is that, and just like we'll talk about the others, but Dave made this great point that I have continued to bring up, is that these guys didn't take a chance. Like, Vince McMahon didn't take a chance on you. He didn't do some like nice thing for you where he was like, I'm gonna help you out, kiddo, you're a great wrestler. He saw a way to make money off of you and he took it. And
because John Cena is the prototypical WWE wrestler. That is what Vince McMahon thinks a wrestler should look like, is what John Cena looks like. And but so, it's not, yeah.
It's not. He made the perfect point about this, is that in no other sport, really, like professional sport, do you hear like a wide receiver or a famous basketball player or somebody being like, that guy took a chance on me. And no, you want money, they want money, you play basketball good, you get paid. Like,
right.
And there's no like, and they know the score. They know they can get traded at any time. They're open about it, sometimes vocal about it in the media, about like, I'm doing you a favor because I'm playing your game on your team. Like, so they like take almost like they have an identity, whereas like WWE specifically, but more large like wrestlers, seem to struggle with the idea because they fall into a weird category, seem to struggle with the idea that it's like, no, they're making money off of you. A promoter's job is to make money off of their talent and put butts in seats. Like, that's it. And then the other thing I wanted to throw in there that really, really bothered me is that he shows zero remorse for any victim here at all.
Right.
Forget.
Yeah, this is all about
Vince.
It's the same thing that Kevin Nash did. Even Mick Foley, which I was very disappointed by.
They've all done it. They've universally not acknowledged victims. And
they've all said, I don't want Vince. I don't want this to hurt Vince. All three of them have said that. Have basically said, and that reminds me, like we touched on a little bit about it last week, but that happened when Jerry Richardson all that stuff was happening with him. Players were saying, Jerry Richardson did all this for me. Jerry Richardson is a great man, and not ever once thinking that the former employees that he sexually harassed were listening to what they said. And I know that some people that's how they think. They don't think about that type of stuff. They think, oh, well, my relationship was with Jerry Richardson. My relationship was with Vince McMahon. I don't know these women. So they can't grasp the fact that when they say those things, they are actively harming people why would you want to come forward? Why don't women come forward? Well, why would I? Because John Cena's going to go on TV and tell me that he doesn't want Vince to, or he's going to go on Howard Stern and tell them that he hopes that this doesn't hurt Vince.
That Vince has got a hill to climb,
right?
Whatever the F all that means.
It's just, and I was talking with some friends about it the other day, and we'll touch on Randy Orton's comment. That's kind of what made me think of it. Is Vince has also brainwashed some of these men into thinking he is a father figure, because Braun Strowman is somebody who I thought of when around the time he was released, where he was talking about, or before he was released, he was talking about how Vince is like a dad to me, and he just says all these things, and he's like, everything he was doing was for Vince's approval. And then and I was like, and Vince has convinced them that, I gave you this life that you wanted and I could take it away. Wow, that sounds really familiar. Where have I heard that before? Oh, I know, Janelle Grant. He did the same thing to her. He made her feel, I can give you a job, I can give you money, I can give you security, but you have to do all these things. But if you don't do what I say, I'll take it away from you. Yeah. And so I was like, do you not see that pattern that he's doing? He did the same thing to these wrestlers. He's made them think that they can't, that Vince has provided all these things for them, and if they don't toe the line, he's going to take it away from them. He did the same thing to, like, I don't know, and I know it's just because of the way they're looking at it, but like, how do you not see that connection, that this is what Vince does? He manipulates, and so now he has manipulated you into thinking that you don't want Vince to be harmed, and you're forgetting the victim. And then I'm not to say that these men don't have autonomy and can't think for themselves, but it just, you see where some of this brainwashing comes into play with even his own wrestlers.
Manipulation.
Yeah. And it's very unfortunate, but I was just like, please just don't ask John Cena anything else about Vince, because I don't care. I don't think he's ever going to say anything. I don't even think that Vince, even if Vince was dead, I don't think that John Cena would ever say anything bad about him. He's just not going to. And I will continue to be disappointed, even knowing he's just, and I was like, just please stop talking to him. And then, so we did have a comment from Randy Orton that was, a little bit better. And so he was speaking to Sports Illustrated, and he admitted that he wouldn't be where he is today without Vince, but the allegations were heartbreaking. So he said, I've got to say this, I wouldn't be where I am without Vince McMahon taking a chance on me. Just a reminder that Randy Orton is a third generation wrestler.
Right.
So that had Vince take a chance on him. He said, I wouldn't be where I am today without Vince McMahon, but I'm reading this shit. What you've seen and read, I've seen and read. As far as commenting on that, it fucking hurts my heart. It hurts my heart. And I was like, that is at least, and down here, I forgot. So hold on, there's more to it. So he said, so much has happened while I was out. When I left, the old guard was still doing its thing. Vince was still around. TVs were getting rewritten over and over again. And then, so he's, this is just where he's talking about Nick Khan and, about how he used to be a prick and things like that. So just a little side note that Randy Orton was investigated in 2018 for misconduct at work because somebody was, who was it? Was it Conrad? No, it was Court Bauer. said that Randy Orton would, when there were new executives that were being hired or new people, he would put his hands down his pants and then make them in front of them and make them shake his hand. And then if they wouldn't do it, he would chide them for it. And so once that story, because Court was telling it as a ha ha ha, listen to this story. And so this was like in 2018 when the story came out. When this was happening, I don't know what the exact time frame was at, but he was investigated. And then as far as I know, because I've seen people ask the question, that apparently whatever they found in that investigation was never made public. So perhaps Randy Orton was just an immature asshole. And hopefully he has grown up and is still not doing those things. But it just goes to show you more of that culture that Vince has created and has made him think. And he was doing this to both men and women. Like, so this is, and that is a form of harassment. So just want to keep that in mind.
And manipulation. Like, there is a real, I mean, I know that one place that was trying to get people to sign up for a lawsuit was really scammy and probably should be heavily investigated. But the idea of a civil lawsuit or a class action lawsuit against him for work practice is got to be becoming an actual reality too.
Yeah. Like, and again,
don't know
I feel
how
like
you
we have
stay
to
away
make this
from it.
I feel like we have to make this reminder every single week. Janelle Grant's lawsuit is not just against Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, but also WWE. I feel like we have to point that out every single week. And then you see these comments that Randy Orton is making, and John Cena, and they're all talking about, and it's just this culture that has been created, and they live inside this bubble. And so Daza said it's baffling, especially because Vince is not Cena or any other wrestler's friend. He had them on his show because he could make money from them. No wrestler owes him anything. Right. And then Daza also says Orton referred to Vince's action as mistakes. No, it was a long calculated campaign to bring someone under his control and not let them leave. Exactly. He groomed them. Call it what it is. He groomed them. He manipulated them. He did it for his own gain.
Did not make mistakes. He knew exactly what he was doing.
He's been doing this for 40 years.
Right.
And on top of this, and I will go ahead and bring this part up because Paul Roma was on News Nation with Ashley Banfield last week, and he was talking about how male wrestlers were being propositioned by executives and things like that to do in exchange for sexual favors. They would get more bookings, more money, get pushed, this and that. And so this shows you this culture has been around. Again, WWE is in this lawsuit for a reason. And Paul Roma even said that he knows of something that happened to Janelle, or that happened to another woman that was worse than Janelle Grant. That is the second person who has come forward with that. There was another, I can't remember his first name, Mancini, I think was his last name, but he also said he knows of something that happened to a woman that is worse than what happened to Janelle Grant. I can't even fathom what that could possibly be. But even with Paul Roma talking about it, he was talking about his former tag team partner also mentioned this person and was like, I'm surprised this person has not come forward yet. And Paul was like, well, I think they're married and have kids now. Like, why would they want to bring that up? Like they may be in a point where they just don't want, maybe because they're away from the company and living their own life. Maybe they don't want to talk about this, which, we've talked about that before. That's a very fair point. Maybe they will have the courage to come forward when they see other things. Perhaps they join Janelle's lawsuit. Perhaps there's some sort of a civil lawsuit, and maybe, some of this will still come out. But like, that's the two people that I have heard on record say they know of something worse than Janelle Grant. And I can't even begin to fathom.
I don't want to even try and think about that.
Yeah, I don't. And
the whole thing is so freaking disgusting.
It is. It really is. And then yes, lots of hush money for sure.
Lots of hush money making. Indeed.
Definitely. And
that's the reason that they got raided essentially was that he was doing shit with company money.
Yep.
Shareholder money.
Yeah, we've talked.
That's what opened this.
What does Mel say all the time? Can't be messing with other rich people's money.
You can't.
That's when it's a problem.
He was doing all these things behind board members' backs, he was making all these NDAs up and then given one to Janelle that wasn't even signed, which would make the entire thing void, but whatever. It shows you how cavalier, and like, because he's gotten away with it for so long.
And he's getting more, and generally with a lot of people like that, the longer they get away with things, the more brazen they get.
They
and
escalate.
They think, okay, I got away with, and we talked about the Jimmy Snuka stuff last week. Like, he's got away with all these things for so many years. And so he's just and he's a narcissist. So he stuff feeds his ego. He wants to, that's why, he was showing pictures and videos and having her make content for people, because he's a narcissist and he wants people to see what he's doing without, he's just, and so, we've had at least 40 years of this stuff. And if this had not happened, he would still be doing it, because there are rumors that he was doing stuff with a WWE superstar up until the point that he was arrested not arrested, but where he had to resign 2 years ago. There's been rumors. Of course, that's not been confirmed, but I've heard the story. Apparently some other people in our group have heard the story. It could potentially come out. And then even the stuff with Janelle, this happened to her up until 2022. So that's only 2 years, or 2020. Yeah, 2022, I think, is when she left, wasn't it? Or
yes, that's right. Because she came into the company in 2019, and they essentially, because she at one point faked having COVID to get out of being bothered
by Brock Lesnar. That's why Brock Lesnar didn't come to her like he was supposed to. But yeah, so this was recent. Like, this was
this is still not that long ago.
No, this is very recent. Steven says, if this goes to deposition / trial and people begin going under oath, it's going to catch a lot of people in the net.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as soon as it goes past, if the judge says yes, it opens up a whole can of worms of discovery potential and people. And I mean, Dave basically just said that John Laurinaitis had flipped. Like, he just said it like it was a fact. I mean,
definitely.
News, like, he wrote it in the newsletter like it was a fact. And we don't necessarily know it for a fact, but we pretty much know it for a fact, because when his lawyers come out and say, like, oh yeah, it's all true and we know, and he's a victim too.
I know a lot of this stuff from John is because he's trying to he's trying to save his own ass and minimize his role in what happened, but he is also essentially telling us everything he's being accused of is true. And I know this for
and he's giving cause for a judge to push it forward, honestly, by doing that. So and Steven says
we'll find out who knew what and when, and that will be very bad for a lot of people. Yes. And I've said, people, we've talked about this a few times, that people are like, well, where does it end? That's not up for us to decide.
I don't know.
The people who investigate, and it's unfortunate. Maybe some of these people were doing shitty things in the 90s and grew up and did better, but that doesn't absolve them of some of the things that they did before. I mean, a crime is still a crime. It doesn't matter if somebody killed somebody 40 years ago and then tried to live a better life afterwards, does not mean that they didn't. It doesn't erase what they did. It's still a
whole Kurt Vonnegut book about that very subject, basically,
right,
for a Nazi.
Shit,
I said the word. Now they're gonna deem on us.
But it's gonna get bad, and we've talked about this for 2 years. This is the tip of the iceberg. This is only gonna get worse.
Shoes are dropping everywhere, yo.
People are coming forward. They're saying things. They're talking. Some of them, like we talked about last week, Fightful reported that there is somebody who is considering whether they want to come forward publicly with something, and they're also looking into legal recourse as well. And seeing if they're weighing their options and finding out if that's even the route they want to pursue, or if they just want to leave it alone. So, there's a lot that could come out, and even, BJ Bethel had a thread about it, and we talked about it last week, that this is going to take at least a year before this even goes to trial. Like, this is going to be a very long process.
It's a long time.
This thing has moved so quickly already that there's no telling what's going to come out within the next year, or once it does get in front of a judge, like Steven said, that if people start having to go under oath, like things are gonna come out. And so
mad settlements.
yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then, and Vince's talking about Shane and how he was off WWE TV for a few years, and that he might have been gone because he knew there was something that came out a few weeks ago. So saying that was the case, I don't know. That was never confirmed, but that was maybe more of a theory, but that supposedly Vince, from what it said, Vince wanted Shane to do similar things and Shane said no, and he left. But then also, where does that leave Shane and what he knew? And he didn't say anything or try to stop it. He just didn't participate in it. But did he go? I mean, maybe he felt. And then, of course, if Vince McMahon is manipulating his own employees, I'm sure he's manipulating his children. So I'm sure there's some of that there. And that's his dad.
Yes, that Vince is manipulating everybody at all times. If he is speaking, if he is conscious and speaking. He is manipulating someone in some way or another. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but
well,
guys like that, that's how they function. That's
and sure, so I can imagine it goes deep. But you do have. But Shane does. If Shane knew things, he does have a responsibility. But they're also it's not necessarily so black and white, because we don't. If there's no telling what type of stuff Vince was doing to his own children and what kind of things, the ways he was manipulating them, and then Shane tried to take the company, and then Linda sided with Vince because Linda was the deciding vote, and she sided with Vince over Shane, and that
she
just kind of.
I mean, she knows what he's been doing. There's no way she doesn't. She ran for Senate. Like, she's had high level briefings with people. Then get out of here. She might have known he was.
That entire family knew. I don't care.
for all we know, she knew he was going to get raided and didn't do anything. Like, maybe she was the person that leaked the shit.
They did say that they wondered if the leak was coming in from inside, and I remember when it first started happening, people thought Stephanie and Triple H were the leak.
And then Nick Khan was one of the people that was even thrown.
I was like, at this point, it could be
smart.
It could be anybody. It could be. I was gonna say it could be anyone.
Call is coming from inside the house.
It could be. Oh, the call was absolutely coming from inside the house. People were like, "How is Wall Street Journal finding out?" Somebody is telling them.
They've got a really good source on the inside.
Maybe it was John Laurinaitis. Maybe John Laurinaitis knew he was gonna get. I mean,
that would be the perfect PR campaign for somebody if they knew they were going to get burned down on. I mean, that's a level of manipulation my brain can't function at. But
listen,
that's why I'm not a predator.
These people don't function the way the rest of us do. Clearly,
this is not cool. And
no,
and then having people like that who, I mean, again, I had no expectation that anybody like a John Cena or even a Randy Orton were going to say anything substantive. So the idea that, I mean, it's a little, Howard Stern's a shock jock. Like, if he had wanted to make a real statement about Vince McMahon, he would have gone on an actual legitimate news source and not.
Yeah, and I think he
Howard
was there
Stern.
I assume he was there promoting his new movie.
I'm sure he was.
Because obviously, and that's the other thing.
You go to legitimate news sources if you have something legitimate.
But you would think, you have this Hollywood career. You would think you would kind of want to distance yourself from somebody who's
but maybe he doesn't see the writing on the wall like
who's
that.
Basically the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling.
Maybe he absolutely is. Maybe even the Jeffrey Epstein of wrestling.
A little bit of both. Maybe a little bit of Don Trump too.
He's a hybrid.
Nikki said, I also think that most people don't want to believe their loved ones are that twisted, but I think a lot of it was manipulation and gray area. Yeah, it's definitely not black and white, and I do think that there is manipulation into it, but also, like, at some point you have to call it what it is. And we can also say what we've said before: both things can be true. Vince could have given you a career and he could have paid you, but he can also
still be a predator.
He can still, I mean, both. That happens all the time. It
and then happens. I guess if you want to die on the hill of being a rape and manipulator and potential trafficker, I mean, the thing is that, so the hotter this gets, that is going to follow Cena's career around, though.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
and that matters now. I mean, you want to talk about getting canceled?
Well, look at the whole thing with the Remember the whole thing with Taiwan a couple years ago with with John Cena because he said that Taiwan, well, I think it was he said
Oh,
Taiwan
yes.
straight
He
for
was
that,
in a
and they said that
Chinese commercial and he
no,
defended
it
Taiwan.
the statement back and like
And then he
so
had to apologize.
and so imagine, and then now he's saying this stuff about like apparently he needs a new PR person. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just that you do you, bro, but that's not the hill I'd want to die on. So
Yeah. Oh, and Nikki said she meant that about manipulation in gray areas, that Shane and Stephanie.
Oh
Yeah, and of course they don't want to believe that their dad is that twisted. Like, who are their grandfather?
Well, or who's going to come forward because what if he's done things like that to you? And then the question comes up of, has he done stuff like that to you?
There's the rumor that's been around for a very, very
I know,
long time
with him and his daughter, the same as...
Well, no, in between even with Stephanie and Macho Man, that rumor has been around for years.
That's
and so
gross.
that kind of, it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility when you see when you look at the big picture of everything else that Vince has been involved in. Of course, I don't know if it's true or not. However, it just seems like could just be more likely that something like that could happen when you look at everything else that Vince has been involved in. And Steven says, I'd like to think that's true, that it could hurt his career, but the people who worked with Weinstein are still working. That is,
I know.
That's
plenty of them.
An excellent point. Yep. It makes an excellent point. And before we move on from this subject, I do want to touch on Ashley Massaro's daughter. So
Yes,
some tweets
please.
came out the other night from Alexa, who tweeted that she got the courage to search her mom's name, and she sees her ex-best friend, who was Cara Papilla, which we talked about last week. Cara Papilla went on to News Nation and talked about how Ashley cried in her lap for 8 hours, told her what happened to her in Kuwait and all of this stuff. And so Alexa said, this woman has harassed me, talking about Cara, has harassed me and my grandma since her passing and has messaged family members awfully mean things, pretended to be me, etc. The voice chosen to represent this, God help me. Then she goes on to say, that Cara Papilla wasn't even a friend of my mother's when she passed. She was an ex-best friend who, since her passing, has just spam messaged me unsettling, delirious messages and has fabricated bizarre messages, etc., etc. Then she says, for the record, I did not watch the video. I just wanted to put that out there that Cara, could be correct, though, regardless of Cara Papilla being the last person my mom would want speaking on her behalf. The things that my mother faced during her years with WWE were real. She says, no one who supports the Massaro family, literally all that's remaining is me and my grandma, Barbara, who I live with anyways, would go to the media or news outlets. They know it's against our wishes and her mother's wishes, talking about her as in Ashley. Let's see. She said, this is far more attention than I intended. I probably should have watched the damn video first. I'm still not going to watch it because it's overwhelming, but gosh, what have I done? I'm just a girl. I want my mommy. And that broke my heart to see that. And I can't imagine what this must be like. And so Alexa continues and says, in that moment, I could have chosen to instead acknowledge how frustrating it is to see Cara talk on behalf of my mom and move on with my day. I probably should have. Please do not let what I've said complicate the current situation. I said this woman was my mom's ex-friend, not that my mom lied about anything that she went to. And then, of course, some guy tried to say that it wasn't that drastically decreases if people believe her. And she said that have yet to watch the video, but everything in my mother's affidavit is true and everything my mother has stated is true. I fear I've caused more confusion than anything. Which I can't even imagine what.
She's a kid, and she's a kid without her mom, and
she's only 23 years old.
And it's
overwhelming to go search your mother's name and you see this woman who has harassed you and your grandmother for years going on national TV talking about your deceased
acting
mother.
Like she speaks on behalf of your mother. And I think, like, again, because this poor child is in grief and will have to live with that grief for the rest of their life because of this disgusting thing that was hidden. And who knows? I mean, like just her mental health. But it's totally understandable that she would be angry because this person doesn't talk for us and they didn't come to us and they didn't speak to us and they did this in a backhanded way. And it does hurt the case, not but not Alexa hurting the case.
No.
Is that the best friend going on there and representing herself hurts them. Like,
yeah.
she was not asked or told to do that by the family or anybody else. She went out and tried to make some clout for herself off this situation.
Mm.
And that makes her just as gross as the rest of them, as far as I'm concerned, if that's true.
Yeah.
Like, if that had been about vindication, it would have been great. And I guess it got it in front of people's eyes. But
Sure.
I do worry because of the, like you were talking about brainwashing, the institutionalization of the idea. It's like, well, this daughter said that then none of that was even true.
Is not what she said. She clarified it like 3 times.
But that's what the internet does now. Right, but that's what aggregation does now.
Yeah,
and that's what I worry about. I mean, and that was
definitely, and clearly, Alexa is worried about that too. She's worried that her message is being
going to overshadow her mom.
There are bad faith actors out there who are going to say, well, Ashley lied, which is not true because the affidavit is sworn under oath. People are trying to get access to that. There are freedom of it. There are FOIA requests about it. It's going to come out what the Marine investigation found.
Navy.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. That the Navy investigation found. So that stuff is going to come out. And I just really feel for Alexa. I can't even imagine what this has been like. And then to go on and see your mother's ex-best friend who, like I said, harassed you. Yeah, she exploited your mother. She harassed you.
Her mother got exploited again. She can't get any fucking peace. Like,
yeah. And what have we been saying for weeks? I just hope that Ashley is getting peace wherever she is. And then you have this woman going on doing this stuff and potentially harming her to an extent. And it's just, and she's harming her daughter, and her mother, who is elderly. It's very sad.
They're all each other have. That's
it really,
that. I mean,
she's talked about she talked about her grandparents and how they raised her and how hard it is and how they've struggled. And she mentioned that an uncle was murdered like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And
their family has taken it.
It's just all kinds of very hard things that they've gone through. And I hate that for her. And I hope Alexa can find some peace because she clearly has not had any, or not enough of it. And it's just getting thrown back in her face when
it's these things
somebody
keep
like
dropping. Maybe he'll get something. I mean, again, I'm not like, I also am unfortunately somewhat jaded to the world and knowing that these people tend to get away with too much.
Well, it's hard not to. I mean, he's got away with it for 40 years.
Here's hoping that we've maybe come to a time
I think this
where
is finally
overwhelming to not do something.
And this is just what we know. The case hasn't even gone to trial yet. And there's still more, and there's still more people who could come forward. I mean, we have people like Paul Roma saying that there's, somebody else out there who had something worse happen. There's other people that we don't even know. Maybe they didn't even get to the point where they had NDAs and things like that. There's so much that could be out there. And I just hope that these survivors just find peace, whether they come forward or not. It would be great if they came forward, obviously, but if they don't, then that's on them, and I can't blame them for just wanting to live their own life quietly and trying to deal, because this stuff is going to follow them around forever. They're going to have to deal with it.
Look at how the victims that are being treated right now are being treated. So it's not a giant, and it's not huge. Like you said, why don't we come forward? Look at our incentivization or lack thereof.
I mean, we've even talked about this with Rachel the last few weeks. They're like, why didn't you go to the police? Well, Rachel did, and look what happened. It's still, so it's very
draconian freaking laws about not having dated. It means it can't be a stalker, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. Oh, sure. You do you, Texas.
All right. So I think we finished that portion of the shit.
Let's do that part.
And so now we're going to move on to the shit show that is TNA wrestling. Because bless their hearts, they cannot get out of their own way. So this week it came out that Josh Alexander, at first they put out a tweet that said that they exercised option, but the graphic they used says Josh Alexander resigns. then Jade, who is not Jade Cargill, Jade who is Josh, just forgot Jade's last name, just blanked on it, but what she goes by, obviously, but she's Josh Alexander's wife, and she's like, TNA exercised that option. He didn't resign. And so they had to go back and fix the graphic. And it says Josh Alexander's, I think it said his contract is extended, or TNA exercised their option or something along those lines. And so I screenshot the original from where I had sent it to one of the Slack groups. So I have both of them, and I tweeted them side by side so you can see what they did. So it turns out that Josh's contract actually expired on Valentine's Day. He wanted to explore free agency, but TNA picked up the company option to extend his deal another year. And so the report shares that his contract will now expire on February 15th, 2025. It's noted that it says that Alexander had requested that TNA not pick up his option. He was open to negotiating a new deal, but he wanted to survey the landscape if possible. It added, however, TNA did exercise the option, and there are no concerns from the company, about Alexander meeting his contractual obligations and working hard while he's there. Knowing what little bit I know about Josh Alexander, I don't think that's a problem. Like I think Josh
he's not gonna
fulfill his contractual.
He's not gonna tank his contract because he needs to get signed with another company. If he tanks his contract,
well, that's true too. But Josh Alexander doesn't seem to me to be the person who is gonna.
I don't think he's
gonna. He's not gonna just go back there and sit in catering for a year till his contract runs out. Like he's gonna go out there and just do what he does, and while he has to. And so it made me wonder if, first of all, I feel like part of it was retaliation for the Anthem letter, because we've talked about it. He's a big proponent of Scott D'Amore. He trained with Scott D'Amore. I've said that if Scott D'Amore were to go start his own promotion like Rossi Ogawa did, that the first people to go would be Josh Alexander and Motor City Machine Guns. And Kushida. They would be the first four to sign up because they've been with him for so long. They trained with him. They're very close to him. Now, obviously, a lot of that locker room is. So I wondered, of course, nothing else has come out about it, but I wondered after this was announced, I wondered if the wrestlers who tweeted out those emojis, if something happened to them, like were all of their contracts extended? Was that in like retaliation for that? And so I don't know what contract statuses are. Like we know Jordan re-signed to come back last year, and that's when she came back and she had the match with Trinity and she won the title. So I don't remember if it was reported how long she re-signed for. And like Chris Bay was one of those people who tweeted, like, so there were a handful of them. So I was curious. I mean, we haven't heard anything since then, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. That was in regards to something else. And then I did see that before No Surrender, Eric Young came out to address the crowd. He came out with the locker room behind him, just gave the speech of like, change is hard, change is inevitable. That's the only thing that's guaranteed in this universe, is that there's always change. He just kind of gave this speech of, the locker room is still here. The crew, the production, like we're not, just because we're unhappy with the fact that Scott is here doesn't mean that we're going to let TNA fail or that we're not going to come do our jobs. Like we still love TNA. And I thought that was, and he said, and of course he made some line about how they're not going to surrender, obviously at the No Surrender pay-per-view. So there was that. And even like I saw a clip, Alex Shelley was on Busted Open, and he said that, some of the locker room were coming to him about it because obviously they were upset. And he was like, of course Scott was there for us and he's a huge part of TNA, but like we are the ones who went out there and wrestled every night. We're the ones who made the company what it is. We put fans in the seat. Fans came to see us because of the wrestling that we were doing, not because Scott D'Amore is behind it. He was like, he helped us, but he's not we are still the ones. And I think, so it sounds like Eric was kind of building off of what Alex Shelley said. And it sounds like some of these people who were, have been around for a really long time are going to make sure that while they're on their watch, TNA is going to succeed. And this locker room is not going to become divided. And they're going to despite what Anthem is doing behind the scenes, they're just going to go out there and keep doing what they're doing and what they've been doing for the last 5 years. And so I thought that was a really cool thing. And I had heard a few days ago that there was supposed to be, yesterday was the next set of tapings for the next, because they tape 4 weeks in advance, the day after a pay-per-view. And I heard that there was supposed to be a meeting and that Lynn, forget his last name, but Lynn from Anthem was reportedly going to be there. I was, thank you. I was in it. I was doing various IRL stuff yesterday, so I have not had a chance
it only came to me because you said it. So
so I can't. So I don't know if said meeting happened or if the details of said meeting have come out. So sounds like TNA has a long road ahead of them. It seems like every time they get a little bit of, good things happening, something happens. It's definitely 1 step forward, 3 steps back for them. And they're doing the best they can. And there's a lot of, there's some stuff there that I'm not crazy about, but there's a lot of really good stuff. There's phenomenal wrestlers, and I hope that they can figure it out. And we've talked about it all the time. Competition is good for everyone. Not everybody can wrestle for the 2 big companies. People need jobs. And so I want them to succeed, and I hope that they can figure it out. Then, we have over here, Collins says, TNA will never learn. Anthem will literally let that company fail, in my opinion. I'm not even convinced Eric Young giving the big speech will work. It may not work, but it might just help them.
It's worth a try, though. That is a veteran presence in the locker room. What are you going to do? You're stuck.
I was going to say, they're all under contract
You're
together.
contracted. So you have to do this. So
I think that's kind of their point, was don't half-ass it. Come to work, put on good matches, show them that we can still do this even without Scott. And I'm sure that they're all still in contact with Scott. I'm sure Scott is still going to give them advice if they ask for it. I don't think, it sucks that he won't be there and be a presence every single day, but I'm sure if these wrestlers wanted to contact him and ask advice or ask feedback or on anything, I'm sure Scott would give it to them. And then they do have the guys who were right underneath him. They've got Chris Sabin, they've got Alex Shelley, they've got Eric Young, they've got Josh Alexander, Jordan Grace. You've got all of this stuff. And so it says the new guy needs to pull off a big move to get some positive press for himself. They need some kind of positivity for sure.
I don't know if they care. They're talking about changing the name of the network. They're changing about all kinds of things.
Yeah,
I think they're just going to run it and see if they make money off it. Great, and if
they've got Mustafa there, which Mustafa, this person is selling out every single show he is on. DPW, which will be in Berwyn, Illinois, just sold out over the weekend.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he's there. He's selling out everywhere he goes. People want to see him succeed. So I think having Mustafa there is good. Do they need a bigger name? Perhaps, but I think people will, kind of like with Trinity, Trinity's fans tune in to see her. They supported her. I see that I feel like Mustafa's fans will do the same thing, especially because in WWE, he was off TV for so long, or he'd be there and he was gone, and he's getting to do this character that, little bit of a hill, little bit of a, he's kind of doing some things. It's fun. It's really great. And yeah, they've got Nick Nemeth. And I think that people were going to want to see Nick Nemeth and what he does outside of WWE. Clearly New Japan just belted him. So that's going to, bring some recognition to him. So I think, are these the biggest names that TNA signs? Perhaps. Sounds like they didn't want to bring it. Sounds like Scott D'Amore wanted to sign some bigger names, and Anthem was like,
they just had other plans.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. That I think that, it says Mustafa is a talented guy, but he's not. Oh, he is a big draw. He is a very big draw. No, nobody's going to get thousands of viewers on Access TV because a lot of people don't have Access TV. But Mustafa is a draw. He's selling out literally every single show he is on. He is a draw. People will go see him. Is that the draw? But they're not. TNA is never, as long as they're on Access, they're never going to bring in thousands of viewers. So. Yeah, Vinkin said that something about they did a 7-figure deal with Ospreay. Apparently, I heard something that was not true, that it was not 7 figures, that was a big...
They weren't going to offer, from what I understood is that they were not going to be able to offer, and Anthem was not looking to offer a star of Will Ospreay's caliber the money that Scott D'Amore was trying to make the case to them about, is what it sounds like. They just are literally, there's no like anything crazy here. They just are going a different direction. They are like, and that's everything. That's TV.
Anthem is fine with the way things are going. They don't care.
They don't care. They don't look at it.
If they did, they would have put effort into it 5 years ago.
Right.
When they let Scott, they gave him a little bit of leash and let him do some stuff.
And they had made the decision before that thing sold out. So it made no difference that their pay-per-view sold out. That was just kind of a big like middle finger from Scott D'Amore on his way out. Like, okay, but I sold out the last pay-per-view I did. So bye. Like,
yeah. And then it was funny because they made this announcement like, we're going to go, they were like, we're gonna what was it? They're like, we're gonna go somewhere new or something. We're this exciting announcement, and then it turns out they're still going to Vegas. It's just a different venue. I was like, oh, you mean the place that Scott D'Amore's been running for 5 years?
Yeah, right. Of course.
But yeah, I don't know. I wish TNA the best. I hope they can figure it out. I hate that some of them are stuck there and don't want to be there. I hope that they listen to Josh and Alex and Eric and come do their job and do the best that they can, and they can
control what they can control, and right now that means working
exactly
the best wrestlers you can be,
and to keep people from turning off the TV. So hopefully they can do that, and that's hopefully they'll get things figured out. So I did see No Surrender was also obviously on at the same time as SmackDown, which I had to watch.
Right.
So I did see a few matches. I did see, so there was a tag series that ABC versus Grizzled Young Veterans. They did a best of 3 series, which was really fantastic. The finale was on Friday, and ABC actually, they did win and they did retain the titles. I think that's probably because GYB has not signed. They have said that they're free agents. They're kind of doing the Mustafa thing where they're doing the indies and they're doing shows here and there. And they're kind of they're doing their own thing and wrestling everywhere they can wrestle and making as much money as they can, which I think is a smart thing to do. We see more people doing that. I think they kind of saw what Zack Ryder's doing. And Matt Cardona, and Matt Cardona has done really well for himself since leaving WWE. He's completely reinvented himself. He's making more money than he ever has. He's bringing people up with him. He's giving indie people bottles of water in the locker room.
Gotta be hydrated.
He's buying the pizza and making sure they're fed. And he's like doing all these really nice things that you would like to see a veteran do. So I caught that. And then I did see, so they did this match called a No Surrender match, which was for the world championship. So it was Alex Shelley versus Moose, because Moose is the current champion. And so it's this, Moose is part of the system, which is, it's him, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, and Alicia Edwards. And then Alex Shelley in his corner had Kushida and Kevin Knight. Chris Sabin wasn't there because Chris Sabin and Mustafa got to main event. That's the first time that the X Division has main evented by itself since 2005, when it was, I believe it was Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles, I believe was the clip that they played. So Sabin wasn't out there. And so they showed this video, and Alex Shelley is like, I don't care if he's breaking my back. Do not throw in that towel. Give me a chance to win this title back. Don't throw it in under any circumstances. And Kushida and Kevin Knight was like, sure, absolutely, we got you. And so it was a really fun match. It's kind of a cool idea. So they each have a towel, and he had the towel, and then Brian Myers had, or he as in Kushida, and Brian Myers had a towel, and the goal was, so basically if one of them threw in the towel for their wrestler, then the match ended. And so that was the only way that the match could end, if the towel was thrown in. So Alex is like, no, dude, whatever happens, don't throw it in. So they're just beating the hell out of each other. The match was actually a lot of fun, I thought, and I think it's a cool concept. I hope that they keep doing it. And then so Alex Shelley got speared twice in a row, and then Moose took chains and wrapped it around himself and then speared him so that the chain was in like Alex's ribs. And by that point, he was just like beat up really bad. And Kushida threw in the towel. And as soon as he throws in the towel, Moose spears him for a 4th time. So he got speared 4 times in a row.
Wow.
And this was on top of like his hand had been put inside the turnbuckle and had a chair onto it. And like Moose just beat the shit out of Alex Shelley towards the end of the match. And so obviously Alex Shelley was very upset with Kushida. So we'll see how that plays out. But Moose is still the champion and he will wrestle Eric Young at Sacrifice next month. And then so the main event was Chris Sabin versus Mustafa Ali. And it was everything that I wanted. It was a great match. I loved it. It was Mustafa is kind of playing this little bit of a heel character, which is fun to see. And he has the security and like he came out, his gear reminded me, like his jacket had these shoulder things that reminded me of Liger, and I wondered if it was Liger influenced. But
yeah,
but it was a really great match. The only thing I didn't care for was the fact that the Good Hands, this tag team, I guess they're gonna be Mustafa's little followers or lackeys, and first of all, I just don't like that anyway, but also not a fan of one of the people in John Schuyler is somebody who was here for a really long time, not a fan of him in general. And so I was like, please keep him away from Mustafa. But yeah, so that'll be but it actually didn't end up playing into the end of the match because I was like, I knew going into it, I knew Chris Sabin was going to lose. But I was like, please don't lose because these two are involved. That's like just lose because Mustafa's the better one. But it ended up, it didn't really factor in Mustafa. He got the win and it was cool. And then afterwards there was a video that played and he said this is his first major championship in 20 years, which is insane.
That's crazy.
So I'm really looking forward to see what he does because he's and he made history. He is the first person to win the X Division title in their debut match. So that's a cool little thing that they added. And
so they must be giving him a push then, huh?
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah, as soon as he releases, he said he was coming and then he released the schedule and he's gonna be at like the next 2 or 3 sets of tape. Like he's going to be there for a little bit. Still hoping he's in BOSJ because it looks like his TNA run might end right before that. Like as far as his schedule release. So I'm still crossing my fingers.
That would certainly make me more interested to watch.
Yeah, me too. I would watch. I would watch Mustafa Ali and the BOSJ. So I hope that's where it's going to lead. But yeah, he looks great. He looks happy. I'm glad that he's good. Do some stuff. And so yeah, there are some good things with TNA and I hope that they can keep it going despite all the backstage politics because obviously in wrestling it's everywhere, but sometimes it bleeds over into the front when you piss off your entire locker room for seemingly no reason. So yeah, that was that part. What's next? Okada. Yeah. So I don't.
Did you want to mention this?
Yeah, I can mention it real quick. Or no. Wait, what am I talking about? The Okada thing?
Yeah, the Okada thing. Is that what we're talking about?
I had just heard. I didn't know when I put it on there. I didn't know if it was going to gain more traction.
Okay.
And not that I have heard. It doesn't seem like it has gained a lot of traction. So this account, the guy's name is Brandon. Forget his last name, not Brandon Thurston, a different guy. I've just recently been seeing his stuff. So obviously I can't say, of course, I don't know how true this is, but he has tweeted some things that have turned out to be true. So take this with a grain of salt. But the rumor is that Okada is debuting at Revolution and not at Big Business. So if he were to,
which would make more sense, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I talked about this, is like, let Mercedes carry her show and let him be the big surprise on Revolution, which there's often a big surprise on Revolution. So
right. And we already know Will Ospreay has the match. And so yes,
right.
You can do so we know Ospreay's there. He's debuting he's debuting as as a member of AEW on Wednesday. He will be on Dynamite, and then he's wrestling Takeshita. So he's already got his debut match. We already know that. So I could see this potentially being where Okada shows up, but it's where does he show up? Because I wondered if he would get involved with the Young Bucks match, just because that obviously they're really good friends. So they could do that. And then my friend was like, I can't see Okada as a heel. And I was like, I can. I think, especially if you're coming into a new company and kind of wanting to make it, people are familiar with Okada whether they watch New Japan or not. If you watch AEW, then obviously you've seen Okada a few times, so they could potentially, like, I could see Okada as a heel, and just making, somebody was like, and just making them, you call him Kazuchika and make you call his by his name.
Call me the greatest ever.
Right. Yeah, you could. That was like, they could totally play up Okada being a heel, especially if it sounds like Kenny Omega's not going to be back for a while.
Yeah, that's
so perhaps it sounds like Okada could kind of fill that role a little bit if they wanted to go that route. But then I've seen some other theories, and I'm kind of leaning towards this: is Okada coming in as Chaos? Is he coming to help Orange Cassidy? Because Trent is hurt. He got they had to pull him because he took a knee to the head from Roddy last week. Chucky T is injured. There's Danhausen, they don't know how to put him on TV, and they actually finally booked him in ROH last week. So he's kind of, and now they're doing whatever this weird shit is with Jake Hager that I just don't want him anywhere near Orange Cassidy. And so he's kind of by himself. So we could possibly see Okada come in as a member of Chaos.
I mean, Rocky's there, and they could go back to like old school days a little bit. They were all buddies back then. I like the idea of him with the Jacksons a little bit. Like, I can see that too, just because of their relationship, and they could really like just be like, this is our superstar that we're putting over everybody. I mean, they could just keep leaning right into this. And he did Brokata, which wasn't a heel per se.
See, that's what I said too. I brought up Brokata too, and Nikki was like, but that wasn't really a heel. But I was like,
wasn't a heel. He was like, but even the last year or so with Kiyomiya, he's been playing like the angry old man character a bit. So
he has,
where he's
been
like, you damn kids sort of attitude. So
I
think Okada I think Okada will be good at whatever Okada decides to do. So
yes, I think so too.
I mean,
I think the Chaos thing could be fun. But I think that a true heel Okada, could be a lot of fun. I think
he's never done it before.
And Okada's we know that like Okada's very funny. Like I think
people talk about what a goof he is in real life.
Yeah, I mean, you see him like he goes and he puts the Young Bucks gear on
and
like
I was reading. I'm almost done with Killing the Business because I've been reading it slowly on audio because I've got other physical books I've been reading. But they talk about what a joker he is. Like he used to, and not like mean ribs, funny ribs, things to make people laugh, like putting on their stuff and coming out and being like, oh no, I have, and just like, so, I mean, it's all, and then he's done that. He did a couple little goofy things when he was on BT a couple of times. So I think
which I think could be
anything.
Yeah, so I could see him doing the Chaos stuff because doing stuff with Orange Cassidy, and like I could see that side because he could really play into some of the stuff that Orange does. But then I think he could do like because Steven says that he was a terrific heel early in his New Japan run as a cocky heel jerk, and then Hassan says here that people often talk about Okada in terms of improving AEW business in the US, but I feel like people don't understand how famous he is in Japan, and he will be a big business for AEW in Japan. I think you're correct, Hassan. And he said he'll bring a lot of eyes to AEW, or Japanese eyes to AEW. And he said, everybody hates me when I pitch this, but I want to see a tag run between Okada and Orange Cassidy someday. I love that. Especially if Okada is doing like kind of the Brokata type of stuff with Orange, and he's doing the kicks.
That'd be
and
so
doing
great for both of them. They're both so creative, and they could. I mean, I'm into that. That's a fun feud.
yeah, I think it would be. I would.
I mean,
I'm
Ospreay's
all
in the
for
Don
that.
Callis family, so Okada could be feuding with them, just
That's
implicitly,
yeah.
because that's a
That's a
very
very good
familiar
point.
feud for people. It's just an easy one. Because
Yeah,
just because I mean, all of us that like New Japan have seen it, but the people here haven't seen it, and that's good matches.
yes, yeah, and perhaps he will be the one to take the Intercontinental title. Except for I do think they're gonna take. Well, I won't be surprised if that title goes on Roddy. But Steven says it took a couple of years for people to warm up to him, so he can do it. Yeah, I think so, and I think that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to whatever Okada does because he's Okada, and then
Okada
whether.
fan.
Yeah, it's just the problem with Okada going to AEW is he won't get any AEW, any new viewers. If you're not a non-Japanese Okada fan, you're already watching AEW. But that's, I mean, but still, I mean, you can't not let Okada get away just because he may or may not. And I think he'll bring in fans, especially depending on what they do with him. But even still, like Okada is there, like, and he's. I want to see Okada wrestle there. I'm glad that he is.
I want to see him wrestle. I'm just glad he's in this promotion and not, and this was better for him. I mean, he had all the leverage.
Yeah. Venkin says Okada facing all Nick Wayne, Sammy Guevara, and all the young guys. That would be fun.
Okada versus all the kids. Angry Okada. And that's what he was doing with like Kiyomiya, and so he's like, who's this kid coming in here? And he's like,
right.
Fist at the Clouds Okada last year a little bit. So
yeah, so they can do it. There's more. I think there's more that they can do with Okada than people.
I'm hard pressed to think of anything that Okada couldn't do if he wanted to do it at this point. He's still good.
Okada is worth the money. Like there's no argument. If he costs them a lot of money, so what? I mean, that's why he's there. That's not your eye. I don't care that it's not my money.
I will pay my money to see him again. I mean,
I will pay. I will pay him, and I hope he's at Revolution because I'm going to be there. So
that's right. Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And
I am very selfishly.
You saw him because he was at All In.
So yes, All In is the only place I have seen him live. I saw him, and he was in a match with Murray Skrull.
Yeah.
So
you could use a better Okada memory than that.
I could. Maybe he comes in. Yeah, I want to see Okada. I'm all for it. Can't wait to. And I do.
You and Nikki are gonna lose your minds if that guy shows up at that. You hear that thing? You
hear that coin drop? And that's that was
over.
A conversation I've had with a couple people is does Okada get to keep his music? Or did they do a new? Did they have Mikey Ruckus come up with a new theme? And I was like, I think he would keep because when he's wrestled in AEW, he's used his
under
music,
that music.
And so has anybody that's come over have had their own music. But I think if they were to change it,
depends on what kind of character he was.
That's true too. If they change it, you have to keep the coins in there somehow to make people know when you hear that. Because if they debut Okada with new music and there's no drop, it's not gonna hit the same.
No.
So I would think, and I think Mercedes, obviously, she's probably gonna keep her theme that she's been using since she left. Since she's left WWE, I would assume that he did. Yeah, Nikki said Will kept his music, didn't he? Yes,
he did.
Has, so he did.
He has a couple of musics. He went back to So Elevated. Because he, for a while, there was coming out to something else, I remember. Or maybe I'm getting that backwards. But he was coming out to different theme music for a bit and then went back to his original. So.
Right. That'll be really interesting. I'm really excited to see, what that's going to sound like if he comes. Yeah, because God, can you imagine if he came out to new music and everybody's like, "Who the hell is this?" And
I don't think they would do it that way.
Yeah, I think you have to debut him with his music, or you got to at least have the coins dropping. And so, but yeah, I'm really excited. I really selfishly, I hope it's next week. I want to see him. I want to see him next week, and so
that'd be
what
awesome.
We've been hoping for. Yes, and so and to keep I want Mercedes to have her own thing. I mean, I guess it's possible that Okada debuts at Revolution and then has his first actual match in Boston on Big Business. I guess that's possible too. And then, but so far they are selling tickets under the assumption that it is Mercedes. Like I'm sure there are some people buying tickets hoping that Okada is a part of it, but I think Mercedes is the one moving a majority of those tickets. Like, even though, you can say Nick Nemeth helped move tickets for New Japan in Chicago, but Mustafa Ali is moving those tickets because he's from Chicago. Like people are paying to see Mustafa, and I think people are paying to see Mercedes in Boston and to see what she does. And that's what I think is, of course there's some, so perhaps they do that. Maybe that is what they do. They have Okada debut at Revolution. He's on TV, but his first actual match will be at Big Business. Like I can definitely see them going that route, especially if it's to whatever he does. So if he comes out on behalf of the Young Bucks, perhaps they do something on that Dynamite, or if he comes out and helps Orange Cassidy, perhaps Orange Cassidy and Okada do something that night. Like there's definitely some big possibilities, I think, with that.
Agree. Highly agree.
Yes. And so I do want to touch on Ashe a little bit. I know that you did not get a chance to watch it because you were being judgy yesterday.
I was being judgy, and I thought my link was going to work. I did contribute my money to the pay-per-view, and I'm happy to not worry about it. Hopefully they'll upload that to the... But
yeah,
I was
should...
I'll just, I mean, like I said, I'll just message him and be like, hey, if this doesn't work, can I just use it when you guys do upload it and whatever. But either way, to me, it's a donation to a really good cause and a really good cause.
Yeah, they sold out yesterday. They tweeted at well, I heard Mama Lockhart say it when I was walking out last night that they were standing room only. And then Ashe tweeted this morning that they sold out, and it was great. I was so happy to see that people came out again. It was at a different location this time. It was at a high school, but it was a high school. So if you watch the first show, you know that Darius's former teacher, Mr. Milligan, was out there. Darius Carter legitimately hurt his leg, as you heard last week. And so he was there last night, and that's where he teaches. So some of the students were there. And so it was a really fun atmosphere. And they started off hot. They started with Yaya and Sunny Kiss was the first match. And so so it just picked up from there. And so even before that,
awesome. I started with a bang, huh?
Yeah. So if you heard Chris on our show last week, we were talking and things like that. So at first they were not going to do some media stuff yesterday, which was perfectly fine. They were doing a meet and greet beforehand with Ron Simmons and Teddy Long. Clearly their priority. I didn't have an issue with that. Well, then Friday night, I was watching SmackDown and got a message from Chris, and he's like, hey, are you coming at 4:30 tomorrow? Give me your top 5 people that you would like to interview, and I'll see if I can do a one-on-one. And I was like, just 5? Like, just 5? Who am I gonna pick?
It's like picking your favorite.
So I was like,
child.
well, clearly, Sunny Kiss is my number one, like, obviously. And so then I give it. So I'm going through the list, and I'm like, oh, well, there's this person, but there's this person, and so I'm going back and forth trying to figure out my 5. And I'm like, let me just give him 5, and I'm expecting one of the 5. I got 3 of the 5.
Nice.
so I got there yesterday. I got interviewed. So I got 5 minutes with Yaya. Since they were going on first, I didn't want to take a lot of his time. And so I had a really good interview with him. I had requested Charity King, and then they let me interview both her and her tag team partner Danny B, which that was they are so energetic and so much, like, they came up to me and they're like, hey, they were hugging me like we'd known each other for years. It was not my first time meeting them. Like, it was great. They were amazing, and I really enjoyed talking to them. And then, like, we were kind of still waiting, and I was like, because they had us move down the hall because we didn't have like there was not really an interview area. And so they were like, well, just go down to your go down to that blue chair right there. And so we talked to Yaya, and I was like, and so then when he's done, I was like, let's move this. We're like kind of in front of the men's bathroom. It's like, let's move some chairs down here. And so I got to the interviews are technically recorded, but it's going to be a written interview. I'm going to try to start it tonight, hopefully have it up this week. And so yeah, we were waiting and nothing came. I mean, he was going to try to get me Caprice because I really wanted to talk to him. And then it just didn't work out, which is perfectly fine. And then so Chris told me, like, I ran into him at intermission, and he was like, I'm going to try to get you Sunny Kiss after. Well, he told me at the beginning, he's like, I'm trying to get you Sunny Kiss after the show. She's going on first. She's kind of focusing on our match and stuff like that. So, and then so he ran into me. So I ran into him at intermission. And he was like, I'm going to try to get you Sunny after the show. And I was like, great. If you can't, it's not a big deal. I have some good stuff with Ya and the King Bees. And so we were standing around talking last night, and Chris was like, I've got Sunny. You've got just a few minutes. Sunny has a 6 a.m. flight. She's trying to leave. get to the hotel. And so I was like, no, I'll take it. And so I talked to Sunny for a few minutes and got some good
fantastic
stuff. Yeah, so it was great talking to all three of them. And so yeah, I'm gonna try to I've already talked to Raphael over at Daily DDT about it. So we're trying to kind of figure out how we're gonna do it. But I would like to get it out by Thursday while it's still Black History Month, especially because the show was Ashe x BHM, so it was a focus on Black History Month. So my goal is to get it out by Thursday. Hopefully we'll see how that goes.
We will post that to both. Sam will post that to her Twitter and socials, and we'll obviously be retweeting that and so forth.
Absolutely. And and I'll probably try to be better about posting some photos over on our Instagram as well. So make sure you're following Powerbombshells on Twitter and Instagram, so that I'm going to try to post some stuff over there. I got some really good shots of Caprice and Suge. They had such a great match, and it was not. I thought they were doing a double main event, but they didn't. They put that one on a little bit earlier. But to me, as much I loved Darius versus Darius. Of course, it was a great match, and I was very happy to see Darius Lockhart back in the ring. He's wrestled in 2 years. I don't think I've seen him wrestle live in 4 years, because he was not wrestling in North Carolina, other than when he wrestled Matt Hardy for AEW Dark. I think that was the last time that he wrestled in North Carolina. So I, of course, love that. But I think my match of the night probably was Suge versus Caprice. That was
nice. Fantastic.
They were and I was thinking about it. I was asking Nikki, I was like, have we seen Caprice wrestle, or because he's been mostly doing commentary for the last few years. And I'm not sure that I've seen Caprice wrestle, or if I have, I've only seen a few things here and there. But let me tell you, that man is 46 years old and wrestles like he's 22 years old.
Nice.
He looked incredible, and
that's awesome. Makes me feel good.
Him and Suge they killed it. It was such a great match, and it was really cool because they had Ron Simmons come out there, and Ron Simmons was talking about how he had lived in Charlotte for a while, and how it means a lot to him being in Charlotte, and that helped him to become the first Black heavyweight champion. And it just meant you could tell it meant a lot to him to be there and to be part of that last night. And he came out and he presented the belt and talked to both Caprice and Suge, and you could just tell it was just a really special moment. And I think that's one thing that Ashe is really good about, giving people their flowers. And it was a really cool moment to see that and to be a part of it. And then they had a phenomenal match, and Suge did retain the title. And I happened to get the shot of Caprice afterwards, and just the look on his face, knowing that he did not win. And it was just that moment that I just happened to capture, and I'll probably post it at some point. But it was a really good moment. And then afterward, I mean, because obviously he lost, but like Suge came to him and they hugged in the ring, and you could tell it meant a lot to Caprice to have that shot. And it was just all of it was really good. And then I know that Suge is actually defending that title today against O'Shea Edwards, because the match was pre-made, and then with the match with O'Shea and with the title on the line. But O'Shea had said, if Caprice wins, I'll wrestle him. I don't care. I just want that title. He was like, I'll wrestle whoever you send me. And so I saw Suge was talking about that today, that he was going to wrestle there. But then, so just everything. So that, like I said, they opened with and Sunny Kiss, and that was a really fun match. I wish it had been a little bit longer, but I mean, for what it was, like, it was great. And then the second match was really funny. It was Movie Mike versus Ian Maxwell, and I don't know if you've seen some of the promos that Movie Mike has been doing. He's outside of a movie theater, and he tagged Tony Khan, Tony Storm, and RJ City in it. And I actually, even though I follow Movie Mike, I didn't see it until RJ City responded. So RJ City has watched the promo.
That's
so I was
good.
like, oh, that would be really cool if they could figure out, because Movie Mike's character he's a director and he's a filmmaker.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I was like, yeah. So it would be, if they could figure out
together
with Tony Storm, I think it could be a lot of fun. And so, Movie Mike is mad that Fast as Hell Ian Maxwell is so fast. He's never in the shot. He's always moving too fast to get to the next thing. And he accidentally stepped on Movie Mike's foot and could have cost them the match. And so he's just going on and on about that. And he's sitting in his director's chair and telling Ian to get in his shot, and he's like, you're too fast, and they're going on, and then it ended up being a squash match, which I didn't see coming, but I should have. And I think that made it even more fun, because he was fast as hell, and Movie Mike could not beat him. He was too fast for him. But yeah, so that was fun. It was a lot of cool stuff. And they had, of course, there were several women's matches on there, which was great to get the women involved. And actually, I noticed, I was looking around and I saw Jonathan Gresham was there, and because Jonathan Gresham wrestled obviously on the first show, and so he was just there in street clothes just when he was watching the women's match. And then I saw him. He came out later. I can't remember if he came out, or I think he did come out for Suge and Caprice, and then he came out to watch the main event, which was really cool to see. And Savannah Evans was there. She came to support, which was cool to see. So it's really cool to see all these people come support Ashe and to support Darius. And Nikki was saying that when I told her who my 5 were, she was like, tell him. Yeah, she did. She was like, tell him Sunny Kiss is your number 1. I was like, definitely was my number 1. The King Bees were very sweet, and I agree that Suge and Caprice have a really great chemistry, and they're very good at storytelling. Yeah, it was. I loved everything.
I will get my eyes on it. I will. Figure it
definitely.
out.
And Nikki said, I really enjoyed how Movie Mike and Ian Maxwell handled that match. Yeah, it was fun. It was, I didn't see it coming, and I should have, which I think has made it even more fun. And then there was like, of course they got Teddy Long in there, and he of course had to make a tag match. And he was like, how earlier in the night. He was the guest. GM last night. And so he came out there and he was like telling everybody basically to be on their best behavior, or he would make them go one-on-one with the Undertaker. And he was like, sorry. He was like, that's just habit. And so he got a nice pop with that, of course. And then we did get Ron Simmons he came in there and he pretended like he was not going to say damn, and he acted like he was going to get out of the ring, and then he just turns around and he said it, and it was just nice to get. It was a fun pop. It was just, we knew it was coming, but it's still just rewarding to get it. And it was really cool to see. And then I saw it before the show when I was in the concessions, and then I went back after the show. But they had the Black Wrestling. I think it's the Black History Wrestling Museum. I believe that's what it's called. So they had this little setup, and they had all these photos of like different Black wrestlers from just like throughout the years. And they had gear from Layla that used to be part of Lay Cool in WWE. They had her gear and like a signed picture, and they had Tasha Steele's. They had her gear. They had a signed Ricky Starks vest on display. They had MVP's signed gear on display, just a lot. And there was a photo that was like a bunch of different drawings, and Abdullah the Butcher is in the middle of the drawing, and he signed the picture. So it was just really cool to see like literally all this Black wrestling history. And it was just a very tiny amount. I can only imagine like what the full scale looks like, but even that was really cool to see it. And then I don't know how well you'll be able to see this on camera, but I got the guy who was running it, his niece and nephew, do some drawings, and they had this artwork. And this is Nefarious. It's Nefarious Darius.
That's awesome.
I loved it so much. They had like other little ones. They had who was it? It was Bianca. And I can't remember a couple other ones. And I was like, no, I need it. So you could get them like as trading cards, or you could buy one picture. And then with every purchase, let's see if I can pick this up. So with every purchase, they gave this away for free. And so I am now the proud owner of a Bootio's lunchbox.
Oh my God.
That
I'm
alone
so jealous of you right now.
That alone is worth the $10 I paid for the amazing picture. Like, I love this picture. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, because I saw people in the, like when we were back at the interview section, I could see people. I was like, what are those blue lunch boxes these people had? Because I saw like 3 people in a row, and I was like, what are those lunch boxes? So I went to the concessions, and I was just standing there, and I was like, I could see, and I was taking some pictures that were set up on display, and then I went to talk to the guy afterwards, and he was like, "Yeah, these are $10, and then you get a free lunchbox with it." And I was like, "Are you gonna be here like afterwards?" Because I didn't want to have to keep up with it during the show. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll be out here." And so after the show, I went and I was like, "I think I want just the picture." I was like, "I need the Nefarious Darius picture, but I also need that lunchbox." And then Doug ended up getting something because Kat is his wife, she was there too. She's a big New Day fan, so she wanted it, and I think somebody else ended up getting it. So but it was really cool. And so I have to see if I can find the links to the Black, I think the Black Wrestling History Museum. I think they're on social media, so I'll definitely post their stuff, because he had a lot of really cool artifacts to see. And so I hope that I would be great to see more often, but definitely I'm glad they had it last night, and with everything that they were doing. And Nikki said, I hope he sells one at the next show, because now I want a Darius picture. Yeah. It was,
You're just gonna have to keep giving this guy your money to make his awesome creations.
I'm just gonna have to.
What? I mean, so much better than AI.
Yeah, right. And I don't know how old his niece and nephews are, but I don't know if they're younger, but I was like, he's like, I just thought it would be nice to sell. Like, he made them into like little trading cards too that you could buy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah,
so.
The cards were really nice too, and they were all $10 for, like, you could buy, if it was 4 for $10 for the cards, or you could pay pay 10 for the picture. And so I was like, I want this Nefarious Darius. It's too cute. And so, but yeah, the show was incredible. They do April 19th will be the next show.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know really any other details other than that. I don't want to give away. There's some stuff that happened towards the end that I don't want to give away.
Give it away.
Want you to watch it. But yeah, support is. I got to tell. So afterwards, I did. Darius hugged me after his match, and he was very sweaty. So, but then I ran into him again afterwards, and I got a chance to tell him. I was like, and I mean it. I was like, wrestling is better with you in it. I'm so glad that to see you in the ring again, but even beyond that, to have somebody like Darius involved in wrestling, doing this type of show, and bringing these people together and that was one of the questions that I asked each person was, what does Ashe mean? Like, what does being a part of Ashe mean to you? Like, what is this platform that he's giving you? And I got some really incredible answers from everybody, just to hear. And they were talking about how, like, because the first show had the message from Mark Henry, and then last night they had Ron Simmons and Teddy Long. So they have these people who paved the way for them, who are invested in what they're doing, and they're coming back, and they're talking to them and being part of this, and like saying, what you're doing is important, and like, I'm glad that something like this exists. And so it was really cool to see. And then he had the support. It was a sellout. And then, so excuse me, I hope that this is something that will be around for many years to come. I hope he's able to, even Sunny Kiss was like, they need to travel with this. Like, they need to bring this type of platform all over the place. Like
Can't
I
wait.
could like and I don't want to take any away from For the Culture because it's there, but if they could somehow do like something with For the Culture and a Ashe or something and just make it into a bigger thing at some point, like that would be a really cool thing to see. But yeah, it's a really fun experience. And I got to talk to Suge for a few minutes and
Good.
talk to Mama Lockhart, and Chris was wonderful, and I told Chris we would love to have him back. But yes, it was a really great experience, and so I think you can I'll find out, and I know that you already purchased it, but I think the show is still available to be purchased to watch. It's $15, and it's worth it's worth the $15 because
Yeah, I might have to just email them and get a new link. So
yeah, you get incredible action and you support an amazing platform and amazing wrestlers and these people and give them the opportunity to keep coming back and growing, because it was only their second show and it ran out. I mean, they said they had a few mic problems because as we know, mics like to cause problems. But
jerks.
other than that, like the show seemed to go off without a hitch. I mean, they did have, unfortunately, Brooke Valentine was supposed to be there, but she wasn't feeling well and couldn't make it. But other than that, like I think everybody else was able to come. They put on a great show and it was well worth your $15. And definitely go. Oh, and if you don't follow, when you're following Power Bombshells on Instagram, follow at Ashe Wrestling, because they did a lot of Insta story from they had a couple different people last night doing social media, and so they were posting some from the show last night.
It's the same on Instagram as it is on Twitter. So.
Yes.
And subscribe to their YouTube channel,
because they are trying to give away. They are still trying to give away that PS5.
Still trying to give away an Xbox.
Once they get 1,200 subscribers, they will get out the PS5. All you have to do is subscribe and then go find one of the videos where they're talking about it and tag 3 people in the comments, and you're entered to win. That's literally all you have to do. I mean, you can go to, and I think it's also on Twitter and Instagram. If you follow you still have to subscribe to YouTube, but then you can enter on Instagram or Twitter. You can find one of the posts about the PS5 and tag 3 people and you're in. So it's really easy, and we want to help them because they spent all week putting out amazing content. They put up, Chris interviewed Darius Carter. He interviewed Darius Lockhart. He interviewed Suge. He interviewed Caprice. They all went up this week. I believe Chris said last week that some stuff because Aja Kong was on the first show. I think they recorded something with her that they're going to be putting out soon. There's a ton of good content constantly coming out from Ashe's YouTube, so definitely make sure you subscribe because they're doing some good work over there. And that's an easy way to support them. And as we talk about all the time, we need your likes and comments, and so the likes and comments help them too. They got the same algorithm we got.
Same algorithm as ours. Still fighting it.
Yes, and then also, of course, that as a reminder, if you happen to miss it, if you happen to miss the tweets, and if you happen to miss what we talked about earlier in the show, Steven and Jeremy will be live at 5:30 on this very network. They will be talking all things New Beginnings, and I'm sure they will have lots to say about what went down this weekend and what the future holds. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of insight, so definitely make sure that you check that out for sure, because I can only imagine what they have to say about this weekend.
I like when Jeremy gets fired up. It's fun.
It is fun. I would agree.
I mean, there's got to at least be a couple of things that Jeremy's got to be fired up.
Yeah, I think there might be some stuff that Steven might be fired about. Might get a double dose of it.
So, and you only literally have to subscribe, and just like you can stay here. It gives you just about an hour or so.
You can come back.
3, 4,
a little more than
a couple hours. You have a couple of
hours. You have enough time to go subscribe to Ashe and watch some content over there, and then come right back over to them. And they'll be there this week. And then and we've been here for 2 whole years. And so thank you for everybody who has supported us, whether you've been here the entire 2 years or today is your first time watching, or you've been here. And for all of you who are in the chat, we truly appreciate you guys contributing and giving your opinions and, just talking amongst yourself and stuff. I'm glad we have that community there for you guys, and you guys have been so supportive of us, and we truly appreciate it. And then, so yes, make sure you're there. You can follow us both Mel has gotten very popular this week and she's the popular
Apparently.
kid.
I don't know. All I did was say
She got followed by Nigel McGuinness and Kevin Kelly in the same week.
on the same day. It happened yesterday.
On the same day. Even
yeah, it was weird. I said something nice to Kevin Kelly because he was talking about how he made third on those lists, and it means that and he split the year, and that was tough, and he was happy to be mentioned and in there. And I just said that he does such a good job and that still matters. And he said thank you to me and then followed me back. And then a little while later, I checked my phone and Nigel had followed me. And I was like, what is happening to me right now?
Listen, she got followed by the real Nigel. I got followed by Nigel's magic show. So I don't know if Nigel runs that too, but I got followed by that because he's doing a magic show on Saturday night. I don't know yet if Nikki and I are going. We're trying to figure out what we're doing in Greensboro on Saturday night. So maybe we'll go check out a magic show and see.
That'd be fun.
Maybe, I'm sure, again, I think no clam diggers allowed, most likely. So I don't think, unless Danielson somehow gets there, I don't. Maybe
that would be kind of funny, though.
It would be. So I was like, we kind of want to check it out just to see if Danielson tries to make it in there and tries to do his own type of magic on and by magic I mean technical wrestling. So maybe we'll get a Wembley because I still think that match is happening at Wembley this year.
I know you do, and I think about it every time they bother each other because I'm are they playing into Sam's thing here? Seems like Sam is onto something here.
That's been my hot take for a while. Is that match because it didn't get to happen last year because Danielson was hurt and then he came back the next week and Nigel was like, "Of course you come back the week after Wembley, you're dodging me." And clam digger and so thank you, Hassan. And oh yeah, Nikki says that Kevin Kelly followed you because you don't time women's matches.
It's true. That's true. Only my co-host does. He doesn't know.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, he doesn't know yet. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, but that's awesome.
He's gonna be like unfollowed.
So yes, definitely follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm gonna try to do better about getting some Ashe stuff up, and obviously next weekend at Revolution, I will try to get a couple. Listen, if Okada comes, I will promise you some kind of Okada content. I will get you. I told Nikki, I was like, we have a backup charger, but I was like, I almost think we need to get another backup charger because, well, we might need it. But yeah, so next week, we will be doing our pre show, but Mel will have a honorary broad who will be sitting in for me next week because I will be live at Revolution. And then the following week, I will come and tell you all about it.
And we will hashtag not be a revolution. So
yeah.
Sam is we are living vicariously through Sam. And I thought it would be fun to bring someone on that has a lot of history and understands is going to be as excited as us. Is it me?
Nikki, Daza said, is it me? And then Nikki said, it's Daza, isn't it?
You smart asses. I love you so much.
I love that we've been around long enough that we have people who can do inside jokes.
We have every week.
No, we truly appreciate that. But yeah, we did make it. I know when one day Brad said he was like, some of my favorite podcasters are Sam and Mel at Power Bombshell. I was like, I'm somebody's favorite podcaster.
That was so nice.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah, they were being very nice to us in the main thing because we've been covering a lot of extra stuff. So
we have a lot of really good support, truly. And I know I'm not in Discord, but Mel tells me sometimes about how you guys support us there and you support us here and on social media, and truly appreciate it. Obviously, I mean, Mel and I would just be talking to, I was going to say ourselves, but probably to Nikki, Daza, and to Bob, and sometimes Brad. We would just be having a discussion amongst ourselves, but we really appreciate it. But yes, make sure you're here next week and support our honorary broad. And I've mentioned it last week, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to give Mel my predictions as well,
so that I can read them and we can make fun of them. I mean, so that we can read them. I'm sorry. No.
Right, so then they can be like, Sam, you were wrong about all of it.
Just kidding. I would never.
But yes.
You just won't be there to defend yourself. So
I know.
You've been warned.
Listening to it on that. I'm going to be listening to it.
And you know the troublemaker that is potentially it's going to be with me next week.
I know.
So.
Some people are going to be tweeting me next week and be like, Mel and Honorary Broad are talking trash about you. And
you cannot. It'll be like when Jim Valley buried Dave Meltzer, but didn't actually bury him last week.
Yes, he did.
Started like tons of Twitter controversy.
Oh my God.
Engagement.
All
right.
Okay, we're going for real this time.
All right, we're leaving. Thank you guys. Have a great week.